Welcome back, everyone. We're here at the Living Fence. I just want to do a quick video about the Living Fence this time of year because it actually is a great time to plant the Living Fence. As the fall time and when it's getting a little colder and it's a little wetter, you won't have to worry about watering as much. So here is a line of THUJA and LEYLAND that I planted about 5 years ago. I bought this LEYLAND in particular for on sale for $5 at Lowe's, and it is only been we're going on our 4th year. It hasn't even been 4 full years. Look at the base of this thing. It's probably over 15 feet high. I can't show you the whole thing because it might give you a view of the neighbor's house, but there's most of it. So what I wish I would have known when I planted these is that the LEYLAND will grow twice as fast, if not 3 times as fast, than the THUJA. They do rep these THUJAs as like super fast growing, but to be honest, they are super fast growing, but to be honest, they are nothing compared to the growth of the LEYLAND, which is way faster. Now this isn't a bad thing. I would still pick the THUJA over the LEYLAND because the THUJA is just going to be a way more practical application, whereas this LEYLAND, it's kind of gonna, it's like the give or take between, do you want to be satisfied quicker and then have to deal with problems in the future, or do you want to wait a little bit longer and then have to not deal with any problems? Because these THUJA green giants, you'll wait a little bit longer for your privacy for sure, maybe even 5 years longer than you would with LEYLAND, but you will not have any problems whatsoever. These things are really cool in the fact that they don't need pruning, so they grow in this conical shape with a really thick base, and then they'll get super tall, but they'll stay in this Christmas tree shape, whereas the LEYLAND is going to be the shape wise is just so much different, whereas it's going to grow in a way different type of way. It's kind of more of like a forest or wild feel. So I'd say the LEYLAND is more of a good application in, like, if you're in the country or you have a lot of land, and this is like the barrier where you're okay with it being a little wild, because these LEYLANDs will get a little bit wild. That's for sure. Whereas the THUJAs will stay more tamed. So the shape thing's a big thing. The cost thing is a big thing, where the cost of the THUJAs is more than the LEYLANDs. But what I found actually is I can't even find these LEYLANDs anymore because they've kind of been like blackballed out of the plant community. I went to Lowe's looking for a LEYLAND because I have decided for down here, because see, I planted this line and I really needed privacy down here the most, but I didn't know that, well, I did know, I just kind of chose to ignore that this was pretty much full shade down here, so the THUJAs down here didn't grow. This THUJA right here, believe it or not, this little one that looks like it's just planted, is the same age as that big burly guy that we were looking at up there with that big base. Look at the base of this one because it's in the shade. It's growing, but it's not thriving. That's why I'm about to lay these pine bark nuggets all over it, fertilize it really good. I pruned back this tree that was giving it shade. I pruned back that a lot. Took it to like 12 feet high to give everything more sun right here. But yeah, anyways, I went to Lowe's looking for a LEYLAND for this spot right here because I really needed privacy in this spot. I had a thuja in this spot that got ran over, and also I just realized that the thuja is never going to grow to size right here in a practical amount of time. So I need a leyland right here. For one, they grow a little bit better in a little bit more shade than the thuja, and for two, they grow 10 times faster. So I actually got this specimen. This tree was the weaker tree in a clump with this stronger tree that has a bigger base. Both leylands, but what'll happen is sometimes when you'll buy the leylands, it'll be 2 or even 3 trees clumped together to kind of make them look thicker. And they can also grow like that. It even says on the tag you can grow 2 or 3 together, and it's fine, because like I said, they grow a little bit wild anyways. But I have found that I couldn't find any leylands, so I had to dig up the one. There's where it was. And this will all fill in. Right now it kind of looks ugly, but I'll clip it. It'll cause a back bunny, cause that to fill in. But I had to grab the leyland from that clump. That was a 2 leyland clump, and bring it down here and plant it here. So hopefully this works out well. I put the pine bark nuggets generously around it. You don't have to overthink that. Just threw them around it. And then I'm going to fertilize. I've said that before, fertilize with the holly tone. But I mean, it's very, very simple. So yeah, that's pretty much all I wish I knew. I don't think I'd do anything different. The reason that I went with leylands back when they were available was because I wanted to close that gap faster and get a little bit more privacy faster, which I think I definitely did. I mean, if I didn't have this leyland in between, we would be nowhere near of closing that gap. But now we're actually pretty near of closing that gap between this thuja, this tree, and this tree, and this tree, because obviously we want all the trees to grow into each other. I also think it's cool to have them next to each other, like their contrast. Some people, I call these people like the paranoid people of gardening. They're like the media in the way that they'll just like, they're fear mongers of gardening. They'll try and spread fear to you about this, like, oh, why would you plant the leyland next to the thuja? It'll spread disease if they touch or mingle. No. You don't understand how deep this whole tree thing goes. The trees, doesn't matter if they're a mile apart, the trees will communicate. Trees communicate through miles and miles and miles and miles long of mycelium networks. They are much stronger than you could ever even comprehend with your human mind. Planting a thuja next to a leyland is no different than 2 trees growing together in the forest. It's not going to give you some optimal place for a disease to spread. Don't think about it like that. And most importantly, don't even worry about diseases. Because if you're taking care of your tree, you're taking care of it, and it's a healthy tree, the disease is you're not going to get a disease because the tree is too healthy to get a disease. Look at the health on these absolute beauties. I mean, come on. Look at the health on this thuja as it resides next to this leyland. I'm not worried about diseases because there's leylands everywhere. I'm in a neighborhood. There's a leyland over there. I'm sure it's communicating with these trees. As far as that like widespread disease goes, I'm not worried about it. I'll enjoy my trees while they're healthy. If I see a disease, I'll cut it out or I'll completely eradicate the tree. I'm not going to let that dictate how I'll garden. Also, another big thing is you're probably seeing this brown on the inside of all the thujas. The leylands don't do that because the leylands are super. That's another thing with leyland. It doesn't matter for my climate because I'm in a more tropical 7 zone, but the leylands are way more cold tolerant. So when this cold time of year comes, they actually look a little bit better. They look fine. They never get any yellowing or anything like that. But the THUJAs are a little less cold tolerant. I believe they go to about 5 or 6, and they'll get brown needles on the inside that will actually fall off. See, they're just coming off, and it's not a sign of anything bad. It's not a sign of disease. It's not a sign of anything. It's just that the seasons have changed. The tree recognizes it. It's going to shed some of these inside needles. Probably, if I had to guess, to get more airflow into the inside for winter time when it's going to be wet and stagnant. Well, it's going to be wet, so the tree's probably thinking, I don't want to stay wet on the inside for too long. I got to shed some of these needles so I can get good air circulation between the middle of me, because I'm a dense pine tree. But they'll always stay dense no matter what. The shedding of those needles is very minimal. These trees are incredibly easy to grow, relatively cheap. Oh, I'll tell you another, before we finish. I was about to finish, but I got to tell you this story. I was at Lowe's, and I see this family. This guy's buying this. This tree had to be $500. It was probably the size of one of these trees. I mean, it's a large tree. One of those Christmas-looking trees. And he's saying to he's asking them all the questions about how deep do I plant it, how big do I plant the hole, or how big do I dig the hole, all this stuff. Of course, the Lowe's guy is supposed to be the plant guy of the whole Lowe's center, but he's telling them all the wrong answers. He's saying dig the hole 4 times as big, blah 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 blah, all this rubbish that's just going to cause you more work. It's absolute rubbish. First of all, if I worked there, they'd probably fire me, because I'd tell the guy, put the tree back, put this large $500, $600 tree back, go to the section with the $20 trees, pick you out 4 or 5 $20 trees, okay? Whatever privacy or application you're trying to get this in, whatever. If you only want one, then just get one. Either way, it's going to be much more beneficial to get you that $20 or smaller tree than to get a big burly mother like one of these trees that's been living in a pot for the past years and years and years and years and years. When you put it into the ground, it's going to be utterly shocked and devastated. Whereas if you get the $20 tree and then you put it in the ground, it's still a baby, and you can raise it up to be in the ground and be more established quicker. Also, the hole and the digging and stuff like that, don't worry about it. Dig the hole the same size as the pot, loosen up the soil a little bit, and put that root ball in there about an inch above the soil, mulch on top of it, put the hollytone. It's that simple. You don't want to keep the roots away from the native soil. You want them to touch the native soil right away so they can get established, get strong, and get native, okay? Like they've always been here. That's my best advice. I know I've made a lot of videos on this topic, but trust me, it's something that pretty much the majority gets wrong. We still somehow end up with good living fences, probably because these things are beasts. These trees are beasts. I mean, some of these guys got ran over when they were young because I put them in when they were about like this high, you know. People had no respect for them. They were like that high. Now they're big burly trees 4 years later. You don't even know the potential of your trees if you take care of them. It's insane. So, let's see. I want to pick a good tree to close it out at. Turn the video around to me. See, everything's not as thick as it used to be. I don't know if we can even do it here. Well, you guys have seen my face. Tap that subscribe button. Tap that like button, please. Hope I said that in the beginning of the video too. If you found this informative, please subscribe. There is no honest and brutal information about these trees out here like this, so we are one of a kind. Please subscribe so that you don't miss any of our other videos and you stay tuned. So I really appreciate everyone watching. Hope you guys have a great day and you get out there, plant some trees. Remember, most importantly, keep growing. Peace.